Have you ever noticed that when we imagine divine beings, our minds often jump straight to these grand, undeniable appearances?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like booming voices from the heavens, or maybe shimmering figures descending with total clarity. That's the image, Harry.
Exactly. But what if the truth, across countless cultures and history, is actually far more subtle?
Hmm,
There's this really powerful recurring theme. The divine often hides, it sort of conceals itself.
right. But not just randomly, not out of caprice, as you said in the outline.
No, exactly. It seems like it's done to draw us into something deeper, into a quest, maybe, into a mystery.
That's a great way to put it.
So, our mission for this deep dive is to explore this really fascinating paradox, this whole interplay of presence and absence.
Hmm.
We'll look at how it shows up in scripture, mythology, philosophy,
Yeah.
and we're going to try and uncover why mystery itself might just be the ultimate, maybe the most profound teacher for us all.
And this journey, it's going to lead us to some really compelling questions, I think. Well, why would gods choose to withhold their glory?
Yeah.
Why set boundaries around revelation?
Right.
And why do so many spiritual traditions insist that what's most sacred,
Yeah.
well, it just can't be fully touched or spoken or even perfectly imagined?
Okay.
Today, I think we'll see how this hidden divine ultimately becomes a kind of mirror,
A mirror. How so?
reflecting our own human longing, our humility, and maybe our enduring capacity for wonder.
Okay, I like that. A mirror. So, where do we start this quest?
Fittingly, maybe in the ancient texts themselves.
Yeah, let's do that. Where the divine subtle presence leaves its earliest clues. Let's start with maybe one of the most powerful biblical narratives, Moses.
Moses on Sinai, right?
Exactly. Moses and the unseen face of God. He goes up Mount Sinai, right into the presence of the divine, but he's met with this very clear command. It's in Exodus 33:20.
You cannot see my face, for no one may see me and live. Pretty direct.
Extremely direct. He's only granted this glimpse, a glimpse of God's back. That's it.
And that partial revelation, it carries such profound weight, doesn't it?
Yeah. How do you mean?
Well, it's not full disclosure, is it? It's these tantalizing hints, these glimpses, like the text says, through a darkened glass.
Okay.
And what's more, think about Moses himself. He later dies before entering the Promised Land.
Right, the place he longed for but couldn't fully experience.
Exactly. So the core insight there seems to be that true spiritual inheritance isn't about possessing certainty. It's not about getting to the final destination.
It's more about the journey.
It's about embracing the lifelong journey of seeking. The divine's hiddenness, in a way, makes the quest itself the ultimate reward.
That really reframes the idea of spiritual success, doesn't it? Less about arrival, more about, well, sustained motion.
Precisely.
But even on that journey, it seems like there are these absolute limits, these sacred boundaries.
Mm.
Some traditions seem to warn us against even approaching the divine too directly. How does that tension play out? What happens when those lines are crossed?
Yeah, exactly. And this brings us to another, maybe even starker biblical example,
Which one?
the Ark of the Covenant and the death of Uzzah.
Oh, right. Remind us what happened there.
So in 2 Samuel 6, they're transporting the Ark, this incredibly sacred object. The oxen stumble, the Ark tilts, and Uzzah instinctively reaches out to steady it.
Just trying to help, basically.
Right, but he's struck dead. Instantly.
Wow.
And it's not presented as divine cruelty necessarily. It's more like a terrifying lesson about the nature of holiness itself.
So the Ark, as the dwelling place of divine presence.
Is explicitly beyond human handling. Holiness itself, in this picture, is like a fire too fierce to touch.
Okay, so the insight there.
Sacredness can't be domesticated. It can't be reduced to something manageable or, convenient for us. It's a mystery you approach with profound awe, respect for its untouchable nature, maybe even trembling.
It certainly makes you think twice about how you approach anything deemed sacred, doesn't it?
It really does.
And this idea, this concept of a concealed deity, it isn't just implied in stories like these. The prophet Isaiah actually refers to God explicitly as a God who hides himself. That's Isaiah 45:15.
Right, and that phrase really resonates later, particularly with Martin Luther.
Ah, the Deus absconditus, the hidden God.
Exactly. And Luther's argument, it's fascinating. He says, God's hiddenness isn't withdrawal. It's not abandonment.
Strategic.
It's a profound divine strategy, yeah. To draw believers beyond the, let's say, false security of dogma, it forces you to wrestle with mystery, with grace, to really engage with faith,
So faith becomes less about intellectual assent, like knowing all the rules.
and more about a deep trust in a divine presence, even when that presence is unseen, maybe even unknowable in its entirety. It challenges you to trust even when you can't see the whole path.
It's clear this concept is really deeply rooted in Western thought, in the Judeo-Christian tradition. But is this unique to that stream, or do we see echoes elsewhere?
Oh, it's absolutely universal. You find this theme everywhere. Think about Taoism.
Okay.
The famous line from the Tao Te Ching right at the beginning, verse 1. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao.
Right. The nameable is not the true nature.
Exactly. Hiddenness here isn't a withholding. It's a declaration. Ultimate reality transcends our limited language, our concepts, our forms,
So trying to pin it down with words.
is already to lose it, to diminish its true nature. The insight is that ultimate truth just transcends our attempts to define it.
Makes sense.
And you see echoes of this in Zen Buddhism too, right, with their koans.
Those paradoxical riddles, yeah.
And the emphasis on wordless transmission, teacher to student. The most profound truths they suggest, well, they can't really be said. They have to be realized, directly experienced, a kind of inner seeing.
This whole concept really deepens, I think, when we start considering how it reflects our own inner worlds.
How so?
Well, what does divine hiddenness reveal about us, psychologically speaking? Carl Jung often talked about myths as the language of the collective unconscious.
Right.
So if gods hide, Jung suggests it's maybe not out of malice, but because we aren't ready to see them, or maybe not ready to truly see ourselves.
That's a fascinating angle. And Jung takes that metaphor, Moses glimpsing only God's back, and he applies it to humanity itself. He sees it as us seeing only the trailing edge of our own transcendent potential.
Wow. So if we saw the whole thing.
Our full luminous totality, our divine nature at full wattage. Jung suggests it might just shatter our ego.
So the hidden God is protective.
Less like a jailer keeping secrets and more like a spiritual therapist, maybe, guiding us to build the resilience we need to handle our own truth.
Okay, so the core insight there is that divine hiddenness actually helps us grow.
It guides us to gradually build the inner strength to confront our own magnificent and sometimes maybe terrifying potential.
That's an incredible way to look at it, a divine strategy for our own development. So if gods often hide, what does that mean for how we find or maybe forge meaning in our lives? Thinking existentially now.
Right. Kierkegaard comes to mind immediately.
His take was that divine hiddenness isn't a problem, it's an invitation, right?
Exactly. An invitation to faith and not, naive credulity, just believing anything. A bold step into the unknown. He famously mused, if God were obvious, faith would be unnecessary.
That hits hard. If it was all laid out, no faith needed.
And this is such a crucial distinction. For Kierkegaard, faith is this willingness to live without final proof, to treat uncertainty not as some cosmic flaw.
But as a sign that life itself is alive, dynamic.
Yes, it's an active state. And you could even contrast this with someone like Camus.
With absurdism.
Yeah. For Camus, the universe is silent. It offers no inherent meaning. So meaning isn't found, it has to be forged by us.
So different paths, but both.
Both, in their own ways, challenge us to live fully, to embrace the journey, whether or not the divine playwright, so to speak, ever peeks out from behind the curtain.
The insight being that uncertainty can actually be a catalyst, not an impediment to a meaningful life.
Absolutely. It fuels the search.
Okay, so pulling these threads together, mystery really functions as a catalyst.
Seems so.
If ultimate truth were just neatly packaged, handed to us on a platter, well, the spiritual journey would kind of end in stagnation, wouldn't it?
It would lose its dynamism, its purpose, almost.
Instead, this divine mystery, it pulls humanity forward. It shapes our art, our ethics, our contemplation, maybe even our humor along the way.
Indeed. And this helps explain why so many sacred traditions treat revelation itself as potentially dangerous if it's misused.
Back to Uzzah and the Ark.
Exactly. The Ark, the forbidden fruit in Genesis, the face of God for Moses, these are all powerful symbols.
Symbols of what?
Of knowledge or power that's untempered by wisdom. The myths seem to warn that when seekers grasp prematurely, when they try to force it,
They don't get enlightened.
they get, in a sense, electrocuted. The profound insight is that some truths might just be too potent for unprepared minds. Wisdom dictates respecting the power of the unknown, not trying to master everything.
There's a really fascinating irony, though, embedded in all this hiding.
What's that?
It often seems to make the divine more visible in a way.
How do you figure?
Well, the more it retreats from our immediate sense of sight, touch, the more it seems to pervade our imagination, our rituals, our sense of wonder.
That's a great point. It shifts the focus inward, or maybe outward into the symbolic realm,
Right.
which suggests that the gods, or the divine, aren't hiding just to frustrate us,
But maybe to lure
to
us.
lure us into a deeper game,
Yeah.
one where the highest truths aren't glimpsed by just staring harder at the surface.
But by learning to see differently, to perceive the subtle.
Exactly. The divine's hiddenness cultivates our inner capacity for perception, for imagination. It makes us better players in the game.
Okay, so this is all deeply profound. But how can we translate this understanding of the hidden divine into, like, practical wisdom for our own lives?
Good question. Where do we start?
Maybe with humility, not, self-deprecation, putting yourself
No,
down.
more like intellectual honesty.
Yeah. The refusal to claim absolute certainty about everything.
And that leads to a really profound insight, I think. Humility is the ultimate spiritual safeguard.
How so?
It protects us from those twin perils.
Mm.
Dogma on one side, insisting we have all the answers.
Right. And despair on the other.
Exactly. Insisting there are no answers, no meaning at all. Humility offers this middle path.
What's that path look like?
It's like saying, okay, I know enough to know I don't know it all, and that's enough to keep searching.
I like that.
And this posture, it doesn't just open the door to growth, it maybe invites a bit of laughter at our own seriousness sometimes.
Yeah, taking ourselves less seriously.
After all, the infinite probably isn't super impressed by our detailed theological charts.
Mm-hmm.
It might prefer the seeker who can marvel and stumble and still just say, wow.
That's a beautiful way to frame it. Okay, so humility first. What else? If the divine hides,
Then faith becomes less about certainty.
and more about courage.
Definitely courage. Like Moses climbing Sinai, like those pilgrims wandering the desert.
Mm.
We often travel with no clear map, right?
Yeah.
Just maybe a compass of hope.
And that takes real courage, a willingness to act, to create, to love, even when the cosmic script feels completely sealed. You don't know the ending.
And the lesson there is simple, but really profound. Meaning isn't something delivered by some divine courier, all prepackaged,
It's something we live into.
lived into,
Yeah.
shaped by each step forward, each choice we make when we're facing the unknown. The hidden divine calls us to create meaning, not just passively find it.
And let's bring back Uzzah one more time, that story.
The reverence for boundaries.
Exactly. Some mysteries, it seems, are just not meant to be grasped, not meant to be fully dissected. They're meant to be held in awe.
Indeed. And in our modern culture, which seems obsessed with exposure,
Mm-hmm.
revealing all secrets, all truths, even trying to map out divine mechanics.
Yeah, total transparency is the goal.
This lesson rings particularly clear. Reverence requires restraint. Sacredness maybe cannot be domesticated. It can't be made convenient for us.
And that, paradoxically, is what keeps it alive, keeps it potent.
I think so. And maybe in psychological terms, reverence protects us from confusing our own projections, our own ideas, with ultimate reality. It leaves space for the unknown.
And for the possibility that the unknown is benevolent, or at least worth engaging with.
Worth engaging with, exactly.
What's really intriguing here, as we wrap up, is that this divine hiddenness feels less like a wall stopping us.
And more like a doorway.
Yeah, a doorway, beckoning us toward deeper seeing. Not just of some deity out there in a distant realm.
But of the profound mystery that's right here, within us, all around us, in the everyday.
Yes.
This hiddenness, it feels wonderfully playful sometimes, like a good teacher who hides the answer inside the very question they ask.
Or like the Tao, right? Whispering that the moment you think you finally found it.
You've already missed the point, because it's not a destination you arrive at. It's a flow. It's a way of being.
So the ultimate insight is?
The divine's hiddenness is this active, playful invitation, an invitation to experience the world with ever-deepening wonder and presence.
Okay, so to bring it all home for you, our listeners,
Yeah.
the core takeaway really seems to be this.
Mm-hmm.
The hiddenness of the divine isn't some cosmic insult. It's not a slight against our intelligence or our worth.
It's a cosmic invitation.
An invitation. To live with awe, to seek with humility, and yeah, maybe even to laugh sometimes at our very human craving for absolute certainty.
And perhaps the greatest irony, maybe the most profound insight we can take away, is that the gods who hide, well, they might actually be closer than we think.
Ow!
Revealed not through blinding visions or, thunderous pronouncements from on high,
But through.
through the simple, often overlooked act of wonder. the wonder we can encounter every single day if we pay attention.
So, to live well, then, it's not about trying to strip the veil away, forcing a revelation,
No, maybe it's about honoring the veil.
honoring the mystery, walking forward into the mist.
Yeah.
How did you put it? With reverence.
With reverence, with creativity.
And maybe even a hint of mischief.
Why not? Because if the infinite is truly hiding,
Yeah.
it might just be hiding enough to make the game this incredible, sometimes baffling, journey of discovery and meaning-making truly worth playing.
I love that. Until next time, keep diving deep.